My name is Sloan Maris Keating, 32 years old. I'm a planner, a spreadsheet person, color-coded checklists, calendar blocks you could land a plane on. My boyfriend, Lucas Hale, is the opposite, vibes guy, spontaneous, the type who freehands a mood board on a napkin and calls it destiny. We used to joke that we balanced each other, my rails, his spark. Lately, I'd begun to suspect that what he called spark was simply mess with better lighting. Our wedding was in 3 weeks. The last box to arrive, the invitations, sat on the dining table like a dessert you save for last. Lucas designed them himself because, of course, the feel has to be right, Sloan. It sets the tone. His mother, Diana, had repeated that line so many times I could hear it in my sleep, right between her comments about elevating the guest experience, and Julia loved that florist, said with the casual cruelty of a woman who still adored her son's ex. I slid the box open, thick, creamy cardstock, embossed edges that whispered expensive, gold script that caught the light like champagne. Diana Whitaker and Thomas Hale request the pleasure of your company at the marriage of their daughter, Sloan Maris, to... I stopped breathing, to Julia Scott. My name evaporated. In its place, Julia, his ex-girlfriend. 5 years of their history. The one Diana compared me to, like a yardstick. The one Lucas swore he was completely, cosmically over. I pulled another invitation. Same. Another. Same. 200 copies of the same reality, where I had been neatly replaced. I walked into the living room. Diana and Lucas were hunched over a laptop, arguing about peonies versus garden roses. Hey, Lou, I said, my voice so calm it scared me. The invites are here. There's a small problem. Thank God, Diana said, not looking up. Are they perfect? They're something, I said. They look beautiful, but they have the wrong name. Diana huffed. What, did they misspell Keating? Printers are hopeless. They got Keating right, I said. They also got Julia right. Silence carved the room in half. Lucas's eyes flicked to me, then back to the laptop, then to the envelope in my hand. He laughed, high, brittle, the sound of a glass with a crack you can't see. No way. Seriously? He took the card, his face blanched, then flushed. Oh my God, this must be a typo. I must have uploaded the wrong draft from an old project file. Placeholders. That's all. Embarrassing, sure, but... Diana latched on like a lifeline. A typo! Goodness, yes. Sloan, don't look like that. It's hilarious, really. We'll call for a reprint. My hands didn't shake. The wedding is in 3 weeks, I said. There's no time for a reprint and a full remail. Lucas's eyes widened just enough to tell me he knew I was right. Then his jaw set. Deflect and deny. You're being dramatic. It's just a name. It doesn't mean anything. You didn't mistype, I said evenly. You uploaded a file. I tilted my head. What was it called, Lucas? Julia and Lucas, final? Something flared in his eyes, panic edged with indignation. You're ruining the mood. There it was. Not the apology, not the responsibility, the accusation. I looked at him. Really looked. The quick pivot to my reaction as the problem. The practiced shrug toward inevitable mistakes. The way his mother's gaze slid over me like I was a placeholder too. I smiled. It felt like a zip tie tightening. You're right, I said softly. It's just a typo. Don't worry about it, babe. I'll fix it. He exhaled, relieved. See, this is why we work. You handle the logistics. I handle the tone. Exactly, I said. You keep working on flowers. I carried the box into my office and closed the door. For 10 minutes, I just sat there and let the hurt pass through me like weather. The thing about pain is that once it finishes screaming, it starts telling the truth. When it did, I opened my laptop. Step 1, the money. 7:10 p.m. I logged in to the high-yield savings account I'd set up for wedding costs. $22,000 remained. I transferred all of it to my checking, then into a new savings account at a separate bank. Instant. Clean. Step 2, the venue. 7:14 p.m. I pulled up the Grand Oak contract. I'd paid the $10,000 deposit. The final $15,000 was due next week. I called the events manager. Hi, this is Sloan Keating. I need to cancel our reception. A pause. Ms. Keating, I'm so sorry to hear that. Is everything... The bride-to-be apparently prefers the groom's ex, I said kindly. I understand the deposit is non-refundable. Please confirm in writing that no further charges will be made to my card. Her inhale was audible. Will confirm immediately. Step 3. The vendors. 7:20, 7:45 p.m. The florist. $3,000. Deposit lost. Canceled. The band. $2,500. Canceled. The cake. $1,000. Canceled. The photographer I actually liked. $4,000. Canceled. I watched $20,000 dissolve and felt lighter. Cheaper than a divorce. Step 4. The typo fix. 7:48 p.m. Lucas had proudly built our wedding website himself. Convenient. All 200 guest emails lived there, alphabetized, spell-checked, beautiful. I clicked email all guests and drafted. Subject: important correction regarding the Hale Keating wedding. Body: dear family and friends, you may soon receive a beautifully printed invitation to the wedding of Lucas Hale and Julia Scott. This is apparently a typo. The actual bride was supposed to be me. To correct the clerical error, I've canceled the wedding. However, a substantial, non-refundable bar tab already exists. So please join me instead for Sloane's I'm Single Again party. Same date, same time. New venue, the Apex Lounge. Address below. Gifts are not expected. Your presence and your thirst are appreciated. With love and surprisingly excellent clarity, Sloane. I read it twice. My hand hovered over send. I thought of the last year, the weird late-night texts from Julia he answered. By accident, the way Diana would sigh. Julia adored this restaurant. The little cuts I told myself were accidents. I clicked send. Step 5. Exit. 8:06 p.m. The phone lit up like a slot machine. Becca, maid of honor. Are you okay? Calling now. My mom. Honey, please call me. Mutuals. This is a joke, right? Holy. Sloane, I'm so sorry. From the kitchen. Lucas's phone pinging. Diana's too. A beat later, Lucas's voice. Thin. Incredulous. What is the Apex Lounge? I opened the office door. He was white to the lips. Diana looked like a queen who'd found a hair in her soup. That's my fix, I said. I canceled the wedding, invited everyone to a party instead. You're not invited. You what? Lucas shouted. You can't cancel my wedding. It isn't yours anymore, I said. It was a typo, he screamed, the word collapsing under its own weight. No, I said, picking up my keys and laptop bag. It was a reveal. Diana stepped into my path, pearls rattling. You will apologize to my son. You will call every guest back and beg. Have a good night, Diana, I said, moving past her. Oh, and Lucas? I'll be following the law regarding notice to vacate. Check your email for once. I left to the soundtrack of Diana's voicemail already recording. Shrieks about humiliation, invoices, ruin. At Becca's place, she handed me a beer and sat while I put my phone on speaker. We listened to Diana's masterpiece. You ruined my child, my consulting fees, you'll pay for the dress, the cake, the message dissolved into static and fury. Becca raised an eyebrow. $20,000 in deposits to learn the truth, she said, clinking her bottle to mine. Honestly? Bargain. I looked at the city lights through her window. Somewhere out there, a printer was finishing the last of the invitations to a wedding that no longer existed. I hadn't cried. Maybe I would later. For now, the quiet inside me felt like a locked door finally opening. I said I'd fix it, and I had only just begun. Morning light made Becca's kitchen look honest. Coffee steamed like resolve. My phone, face down on the counter, thrummed with incoming opinions, from cousins I hadn't seen in years to college acquaintances who suddenly remembered my number. I opened my laptop instead. First rule of crisis: fix the parts you can touch. The condo was mine, purchased 5 years before Lucas and I started dating, but possession is its own law. A quick call to a real estate attorney confirmed what I'd half expected. I couldn't simply change the locks and declare freedom. Lucas had tenancy rights as a co-occupant, even if he wasn't on the deed. Serve a 30-day notice to vacate, the attorney said. Keep it by the book. If they bluster, you'll be glad you did. They? I asked. He paused. You said his mother's very involved. I snorted. That's one word. I hired Greg Park, a calm voice with courtroom teeth, and by lunch he'd drafted the notice and arranged a process server. At 4:12 p.m., Lucas texted from a blocked number he thought would fool me. "You served me? You had a stranger come to our door? You're abusive." I typed slowly, deliberately. "All communication runs through my attorney, Greg Park. You have his card." Then I blocked the number, the way you shut a window in a sudden storm. An hour later, Diana left a voicemail that could have fogged glass. "How dare you humiliate my son?" she shrieked. "You will retract that party email. You will apologize. You will fix this." The word made me smile. I had fixed it, just not the way she wanted. That night, Becca slid a folder toward me. Tabs, labels, receipts. "For the police, if it comes to that," she said. "Also for your own sanity." I wanted to hug her and also frame her. "Party's still on?" she asked. "Confirmed," I said. "The Apex manager even said they'd comp the late-night fries if I bring a crowd." "Then we are in a crowd," Becca said, inventing a verb and meaning every syllable. The next morning, Greg called, trying to sound casual and failing. "You just received an invoice," he said, "and you're going to want to hear this." He read, and I tried not to laugh into my tea. $10,000 for non-refundable bridal gown and accessories. $5,000 for emotional distress and reputation repair caused by libelist email. Libelist, spelled exactly that way. $300 for prepaid, non-refundable beauty regimen. Tanning, facials, hair trials. $2,000 for bridal shower venue deposits. $1,500 for a custom cake topper. We had chosen a dramatic silhouette. I had the Amex charge for it on my statement. $6,450 for consultation fees for wedding planning services rendered by Diana Hale. "She's billing you for helping," Greg said deadpan. "It reads like a tantrum on paper," I said. "Exactly what it is," he chuckled. "Do not respond. I'll file it under performance art. But Sloan, hang on to your proof of payment for the topper." "Why?" "People who invoice for things they didn't pay for often have other creative ideas about money." He wasn't wrong. By noon, my bank pinged with a fraud alert. Someone had tried to cash a check from my old, dormant checking account I hadn't touched in 3 years. The image in the secure message showed a check for $15,000, dated yesterday, made out to Diana Hale. Memo line, vendor payment, wedding. The signature looked like mine at a distance, looped, confident, but the T-bar was wrong. Lucas had once practiced my signature as a joke. Apparently, the punchline had teeth. My stomach went cold in that high, clean way anger sometimes does. I called Greg. He didn't laugh this time. "Good," he said instead, the way surgeons say we've got it. "This is very good for us." Because it's terrible for them? Because it's evidence. I'll forward this to their counsel. We will offer not to pursue criminal charges if Lucas vacates in 48 hours, signs a full release waiving claims to property, and agrees that any disputes are resolved through counsel only. "Is that extortion-y?" I asked, because I like rules and I like to follow them. "It's leverage," Greg said, "and lawful." He fired the email. 2 hours later, he texted a screenshot, a single line from an attorney whose email signature screamed discount mall. "Ms. Keating, my client. Lucas Hale will vacate by 5 p.m. Friday." I stared at the timestamp. It was Wednesday. I exhaled for what felt like the first time in days. Friday came with a brittle blue sky and the kind of heat that makes the air taste metallic. Becca drove. 2 uniformed officers met us at the condo. Quiet, alert, kind. Their presence wasn't about intimidation. It was insurance against chaos. The door opened to smell first. Synthetic florals, something burnt, the tang of spilled wine under a half-hearted attempt to mop. Lucas stood there, pale and rumpled, with Diana behind him. Lipstick perfect, posture a weapon. They hadn't packed. "What is the meaning of this?" Diana began, already at full volume. "You brought police? Are you arresting my son? You monster!" "Ma'am," one officer said calmly, "we're here to prevent a breach of the peace. Ms. Keating is allowing Mr. Hale to retrieve his personal items. Not furniture, not fixtures." "These are his things," Diana said, sweeping an arm at my television, my sofa, my bar cart. "This is his home." "It isn't," I said, voice level. I had printed receipts in a tidy stack that I handed to the second officer like communion. Deed, purchase dates, card statements. He has clothes, toiletries, personal effects, that's all. Lucas wouldn't look at me. "You served me," he muttered. Like I'm a criminal. You attempted fraud, I said, mild as milk. Like you aren't thoughtful enough to be criminal. Diana gasped in umbrage. How dare— Ma'am, the officer said again, and somehow managed to tuck an entire sermon into one syllable. The petty damage revealed itself in small, mean ways. My favorite leather chair wore a long, razor-thin slice across its back. The spice drawer had been dumped into the sink like confetti that didn't know how to celebrate. My toothbrush sat in the toilet, handle up like a flag. I did not give them the satisfaction of a flinch. I took photos instead, date-stamped, wide and close, the way you document weather and war. On the dining table lay the cake topper, black silhouette of two figures mid-turn, the lines delicately cut. A vulgar doodle marred the groom's shape. The bride's silhouette had been snapped at the ankles. That's mine, I said, pointing. I paid for it. Diana scooped it up, sudden as a hawk. We paid for this, she snarled. Part of my invoice. I opened my Amex app and turned the screen to her. The charge, the date, the vendor, my name. No, I said. You billed me for it. For a heartbeat, the room went perfectly still, like the world was waiting to see who we'd each decide to be. Then Diana, with operatic fury, hurled the topper against the wall. It shattered into a dozen black shards that skittered across the floor like beetles. The nearer officer stepped forward. Ma'am, that's property damage. If you want to leave here without charges, you will gather your son's personal belongings and exit, now. 2 hours. That's how long it took to pack a life's worth of delusion and borrowed comfort. Lucas filled boxes with teas, sneakers, a shaving kit he'd always used haphazardly. Diana tried to roll my rug into the U-Haul until the officer cleared his throat and asked for a receipt. She couldn't produce one. She dropped the corner like it stung. Becca stood beside me the whole time, a steady horizon. Once, when Lucas brushed past, she stepped half an inch closer, not aggressive, simply present. He noticed. People always notice what presence really means when they're losing it. At 4:53 p.m., the door frame held its breath while they crossed it. Lucas paused, finally looking at me, eyes wet with something that wasn't quite regret. You ruined everything, he whispered. No, I said. I stopped you from ruining me. He flinched like it hit. They left. The officers nodded, one giving me the ghost of a smile that said more than protocol allowed. The latch clicked, and the condo, a wounded, ridiculous battlefield, was mine again. I turned slowly, cataloging losses, a chair, a mattress soaked in a war of perfumes, a blender gone, spices turned to sludge, a toppled ego no longer my problem. I laughed once, short and honest. $25,000 for a clean exit, I said aloud to no one, still cheaper than a lifetime. Becca tossed me a roll of contractor bags. Come on, she said. We have a party to plan, and this place needs an exorcism. We bagged what could be bagged. I opened windows. The evening slid in like a new rule. By midnight, a biohazard crew was scheduled for morning. The locks were set to change, and my inbox held a sweet email from the Apex Lounge manager. We've added a round of champagne to the tab. Consider it our gift to your new beginning. I closed my laptop. The condo smelled like cleanser now, like lemons making amends. I stood in the doorway of the bedroom and imagined a bed that wasn't ruined, nights that weren't negotiated, a life where no one shrugged Typo at the place where I was supposed to stand. I texted Becca, dress code for the party? She replied instantly, survivor chic, sparkle optional, spine mandatory. I smiled into the dark. Tomorrow, I'd buy a new toothbrush. Tonight, I'd sleep on the couch and not dream of doors that didn't open. The noise was almost over. The story wasn't. When people talk about closure, they never mention the smell. Perfume and smoke, wine and rot. That's what betrayal leaves behind. I learned that on Saturday morning, standing in what used to be my living room, watching the cleaning crew pull industrial fans and trash bags through the door like undertakers. The air was thick with a sweetness that didn't belong. One of the cleaners wrinkled her nose. What is that? Revenge, I said. The cheap kind, mixed with Chanel. She gave a sympathetic nod and got to work. By noon, the biohazard company had neutralized most of the damage. The mattress was beyond saving, and the air still carried faint undertones of melted candles, and something burned that should never have been lit indoors. But the space was mine again. Quiet, ugly, honest, but mine. Greg called mid-afternoon. Everything clear? As clear as industrial bleach allows. He laughed softly. Good. Legal side's clean, too. Their lawyer confirmed the move-out was complete and satisfactory. I've archived all correspondence. You're in the clear. That phrase never sounded this good, I said. He paused, tone softening. You handled this with remarkable restraint, Sloane. Restraint's cheaper than bail, I said. That night, Becca came over carrying takeout and 2 bottles of wine. The party countdown begins, she announced. I looked around the apartment, half empty, half sanitized, fully liberated. It's hard to celebrate freedom when it smells like disinfectant. Freedom always smells like disinfectant, she said. You're scrubbing someone else's chaos off your walls. We ate on the floor, surrounded by cardboard boxes and silence that no longer stung. For dessert, we planned the playlist. First song has to be ironic, Becca said. Something upbeat about survival? She smirked. Or I will survive. Cliché, but earned. I laughed, a real one this time. The next few days blurred into a rhythm of rebuilding. A new mattress, a new blender. Curtains that caught the morning light just right. But traces of the old storm kept finding me, like emotional spam. A voicemail from Diana, furious as ever. You'll regret this, Sloane. You humiliated my son. You'll die alone, surrounded by cats and bills. I forwarded it to Greg. He responded with a single line, saving this for the comedy reel. Then, midweek, a text from a number I didn't recognize. Julia. Hey, I know I'm the last person you want to hear from, but I just wanted to say I had no idea about the invites. Lucas told me you two broke up months ago. He showed me screenshots. Fake, apparently. I'm so sorry. He's not who I thought either. I stared at the message, letting it sit in that gray area between apology and excuse. Then I typed back, I believe you. Take care of yourself. Because sometimes grace isn't forgiveness. It's refusal to carry the weight. Friday came again, 1 week since the move out. 1 week until the single again party. The Apex Lounge manager, Tara, called to finalize details. We've had record RSVPs, she said, laughing. I'm half convinced you started a movement. Just closure with cocktails, I said. Nothing viral. Viral or not, she replied, we're adding a champagne toast on the house. The night of the party felt surreal. I stood outside the lounge, looking up at the sign, the name glowing like a promise. Inside, laughter pulsed through the glass. Becca met me at the entrance, sequined and grinning. You ready? Ready-ish. She handed me a flute of champagne. Then fake it till you feel it. The crowd was larger than expected. Co-workers, cousins, college friends, even a few people who'd seen the viral email and decided closure deserved witness. Someone had made t-shirts that read just a typo in gold script. I couldn't even be mad. Halfway through the night, Ben, my old project manager, clinked his glass. To Sloane, he said, a woman who knows when to walk away and when to throw a party instead. Applause rippled like a tide. I raised my glass, smiling. Here's to mistakes that print themselves, to people who show you their truth too early instead of too late, and to typo-proof lives from here on out. The laughter was warm this time, not pitying, not performative, just genuine. Later, I stepped out onto the balcony overlooking the city. The skyline hummed. Below, car lights moved like steady veins through the streets. Becca joined me, leaning on the railing. You look different, she said. How so? Like someone who isn't waiting for the next apology. I let that sink in. Maybe she was right. For months, I'd been living in reaction to chaos, to charm, to other people's versions of my story. Now, finally, there was silence. The good kind. Hey, Becca said softly. There's one more thing. She pulled out her phone and showed me an Instagram DM from Lucas. Heard about the party. Can we talk? I miss you. Everything got out of hand. I laughed. A small, incredulous sound. Becca raised an eyebrow. Want me to block him for sport? No need, I said. Let him see I've read it. That's enough. I handed the phone back. The city wind caught my hair, carried away the last residue of something I once mistook for love. After the party, I went home. The condo was quiet, clean, mine again. The new mattress smelled like linen, not perfume. The walls glowed softly in the light of a single lamp. I poured one last glass of champagne, set it on the window ledge, and opened my laptop. New email from the Apex Lounge's social media team. A candid photo of me at the mic, hand raised, smiling mid-laugh. The caption they'd drafted for their page, "Sometimes freedom looks like this." I stared at it, unsure whether to laugh or cry. Maybe both. Then I hit approve. A week later, a thick envelope arrived by courier. Inside, legal paperwork confirming the property release, notarized signatures, and one unexpected extra, a short note from Greg. "Congratulations, Sloan. You're officially free and clear. P.S. My wife said your party email was iconic." I laughed out loud, folded the letter neatly, and slid it into the drawer where I'd kept the shattered cake topper's fragments. I'd planned to throw them out but couldn't, not out of sentimentality, out of symbolism. Because broken things can still tell the story of what not to rebuild. That night, I lit a single candle, the only one left unbroken, and stood by the window. The city glittered like applause I didn't need. Somewhere out there, Lucas was probably rewriting his narrative, maybe calling it miscommunication. Let him. I'd already written my ending. The revenge wasn't the party. It wasn't the money lost, or the headlines, or the gossip. The revenge was that I believed him once, then believed myself more. I blew out the candle. The flame vanished cleanly. No smoke, no scent, just light gone quiet. And for the first time in months, I didn't look back.